All right, for those who I've never met before, whose names I do know, who don't know me, my name's Aaron Winger. I work at the Trio department. And today we're going to do a little presentation titled Healthy Balance. For those of you here today, what does healthy balance mean for you? Better question. Do you feel your life is balanced right now? Maybe and kind of. A lot of people have that same expression, a lot of those same thoughts. And when you look at things, our lives might not necessarily be 100% balanced. When we're talking about healthy balance, we're literally talking about health. And when we talk about students, we talk about the biggest challenges facing students today. Poor nutrition and lack of exercise are one. Unless you're here as a student athlete, a lot of us maybe don't get up and move around as much as we do unless it's between building to building. We have peer mentor events, we have observations we have to do, plus we might have another job that we have to work outside of that. So we don't make a lot of time for exercise. Plus, we're on the run constantly, so we're maybe not fulfilling our body with some of that stuff we need. Another thing that happens here on campus, not on campus, but in colleges, I've been in college, Kate's been in college, all of us have been in college at some point in time. It is what it is. Alcohol-related illnesses and injuries. All right. As you guys grow and mature and you come to campus, there's just a lot of freedom out there. And when you start drinking, and sometimes it's drinking a little bit, sometimes it's drinking a lot of things can occur. Assaults by other students, whether it's just a physical altercation like a fight, or if it's something a little more, more risque is the wrong word, but maybe it's you have too much to drink and you're assaulted sexually by somebody. Dehydration. Bottom line is alcohol dehydrates you. It's if you wake up, if you ever been drinking a little bit, and you feel groggy and you got a headache and everything else, you got some cotton mouth, those are good signs of dehydration. Inability to focus also comes from that, recall information that you need about anything, and then just the inability to move the way you normally do. You're slower, you're a little less coordinated, things like that. One thing that we occasionally see on college campuses is prescription drug abuse. And you think more of like celebrities who would have this. They need something to get up in the morning. They need something to go to bed at night. And when you look at this, how many of you, first thing in the morning, you need a Mountain Dew, you need a coffee, you need something to get you going? Red Bull, anything. Great, all of you back in that corner. Excellent.
Pretty much just right.
How many of you that unless you maybe have a Benadryl or something along those lines, or maybe even just some sort of night sleep aid, you can't fall asleep before 2 o'clock in the morning because maybe you had that upper, that caffeine, that whatever, at about 8 o'clock at night. Okay? Or perhaps it's even you're going and getting actual prescriptions from doctors to try to make things balance in your life. The fourth thing of the biggest 4 challenges that face students is just stress. All right, when you start having a lot of stress, you get anxiety, you get depression, you start feeling isolated from people, you start having issues sleeping. All right, if you know you got a big test the next day, or you know you've got something big in your life going on, you guys ever have a hard time sleeping? You just can't shut your brain off. All you do is think. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of those things and how we can address some of them. And the basic thing to come up with is whether you're an education major, a nursing major, or you're here for sports med or whatever it is, you need to have a game plan. When you attack your career, when you move on from college, you need to have a game plan. Step 1, step 2, step 3, how are you going to accomplish those goals in your life? The first thing that we're going to talk about is feeding the fire. Okay? Studies showing diets high in saturated fats. We're talking about butter. We're talking about fried foods. We're talking about basically everything we love to eat. Red meat, stuff like that. People who have diets high in saturated fats perform more poorly on tests. Now, I'm not saying to cut out red meat. Not saying you can't have butter. I love fried bread, so it's really impossible for me to cut out fried food. But you have to have a nice mixture of foods in there. Foods that are healthy with unsaturated fats, talking about fish, olive oil, nuts, things like that, trail mix, granola bars, whatever, likely have lower rates of mild cognitive impairment which is an early stage memory loss. Also, not eating properly can cause hard to control weight gains. One of the things I do on the side is I do play-by-play for sports. And usually I got to leave here like right at 5 to go to a game an hour away. So my play-by-play partner, God bless him, buys me dinner every night and meets me with dinner waiting. He usually buys me something biggish and something mackish, usually. I can't use those two words together, but basically he buys something you get through a drive-thru. What happens, and they call it the freshman 15, is basically you start eating foods that aren't quite healthy for you. You start loading up on carbs, you start loading up on some of those other things, and all of a sudden you get a little heavier. You get a little bit more weight on your chest. Or you start noticing that maybe it's a little bit harder to breathe at night. Your sleeping patterns change. Plus, you don't really feel tired when you shouldn't, and you feel energized also when you shouldn't. So how do we battle those things? How do we prevent the freshman 15? How do we start eating well and make sure that we're still feeling full? Because realistically, sometimes when you think about eating healthy, what's the first thing you try to do? I need to lose weight, so if I want to cut weight, I need to cut what? Food. Not true. Best thing you need to do is, if anything, increase the number of times a day you eat, but increase the right things. First meal of the day, always breakfast. I know I've done this before. My wife has done this. People I know, they skip breakfast. They either don't have time in the morning or they don't think it's important because they don't like breakfast food. Realistically, should be your biggest meal of the day. Fill yourself up with grains, oatmeal, help deliver your dietary fibers. You get your fresh fruits in there. It's a great source of nutrients. Also gets those sugars. You get that night, you want that sweet taste in the morning with your Mountain Dew or your coffee filled with sugars. Load yourself up with a fruit smoothie or something like that. The great thing about this is that you start loading yourself up with all these fruits and these fibers and everything else, and you're full. You sustain yourself for the first half of the morning. That way you're not snacking all the way up to lunchtime. Okay? One of the things that we love to do is we're in a hurry, we don't have a lot of time, so let's go ahead and grab a donut on the way through. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But when your donut is the first meal you eat every morning, 1,000-calorie bear claw gets you pretty close to that 2,000-calorie daily calorie intake level that is healthy for most people. A lot of around here, I noticed on campus there was a vote earlier about what kind of cereal we wanted on campus. Captain Crunch, Cocoa Puffs, everything that's full of sugar and chocolate was number one. That's great for getting your energy up, but again, we've got a high mixture of sugar in there, a lot of empty carbs, not good for you. You want to make sure you try to eat as healthy as possible. Talk here about having nice small serving of bacon and eggs. 2 eggs over easy, 3 or 4 strips of bacon, glass of grapefruit juice. It's a great meal. Number one, it fills you up. Number two, the grapefruit juice and the acid in there helps start kick-firing some of those internal things that basically help you burn off fat and use positive energy throughout the day. If you're in a hurry, one thing I love to do, my kids love, take some toast or a rice cake or something like that, or even a bagel. Put some almond butter, some peanut butter, something good on it. Throw some fruit on there. It's a nice, again, full, fulfilling meal that kind of sticks to your ribs and keeps you satisfied in the morning. Lunch. Lunch is another great meal, again, where you can sustain yourself throughout the day, plus give you some energy for that 2 o'clock, 2:30 time frame where you are just dead. Anyone else start at 2:30, 3 o'clock class? Gets a little warm in there, start dozing off. I know sometimes when I go to afternoon seminars, you're trying to stay awake, and you really think you are awake, but I've been busted by my children snoring all the way through a 3 o'clock matinee before because I wasn't eating right. Lunch is a great meal to really, again, replenish your nutrients and everything else. Proteins are important. So one of the things I like to have for lunch is a nice salad like we see there, full of leafy greens, full of good vegetables, give me nutrients, plus it has protein in the chicken that's there. Don't be afraid to. The great thing about salads like this, you can load yourself up and you can eat as much as you want because there's nothing really bad in there. Unless you've got a deep fried chicken on the top of there, really nothing bad about this meal. Go ahead and load yourself up on your lean meats, but also make sure you can go ahead and throw in there Cheeses help give you more dietary protein. You throw on some of the great low-calorie and special calorie, gluten-free croutons, things like that. Again, helps fill you up, gives you more dietary fiber, because just as the book says, everyone poops. And if you don't have as much going in or going out as you have coming in, it's bad for you. Also, don't assume that salads, like we see here, is just about eating a head of lettuce with light or no dressing on it. Okay? Light dressing is horrible. No dressing is even worse. So make sure you find flavor, again, with nuts, fruit. You can throw some cranberries on your salad. And again, use as much of a variety of things. Talk here about spinach and how spinach is good for vitamin A. Red and green pepper is good for vitamin C. Again, it's basically a salad. It's a fulfilling vitamin without the high cost of vitamins or the horrible smell. Final meal of the day in feeding that fire is dinner. You've had classes, you had a long day, maybe you went through, bounced back and forth between a couple jobs. You are wiped and you are starving. Because let's face it, realistically, even with a good healthy breakfast, even with a good natural lunch, you still, end of the day, you're hungry. This is a great time to kind of treat yourself, but also treat yourself responsibly. Here we got a little beef stew. We got some onions in there, some carrots. Also have a few other little mushrooms and a few other things in there. And then a little bit of bread or toast to go along with it. We want to make sure that you refuel those fires. And if you go ahead and take some time throughout the day to exercise, you need to rebuild your muscles. Two things that rebuild muscle faster than anything else: proteins, amino acids. Okay? Proteins come from meats, and you get the biggest source of protein from red meats. So go ahead and make sure that you have your red meats. Go ahead, carbs also help replenish some of that energy that you've lost throughout the day. Have a nice serving of carbs. If you want to have spaghetti or some pasta meals, this is the best time of the day to have it. A lot of people say that if you eat it too late in the day, you're going to boost your energy too high and you're going to not be able to sleep throughout the night. Well, if you have an irresponsible amount of carbohydrates, yes, that can totally happen. But it's all about a healthy balance, nice even keel. Some things that you can include in your dinner plans: your 25 to 50 grams of complex carbs, which includes potatoes, fruit, pasta, and rice. Okay, proteins, chicken, fish, also lean, limited red meat. And the biggest thing people talk about is what happens in those interim, that time between. Snacks are okay. Snacks are healthy. Every dietary person out there will suggest you have a snack between meals. Now, what do we look for in snacks? Here we have nuts, fruit. Again, good source of dietary fiber. Nuts also have the proper kind of fats that you want in your day. The brain needs fat to function. Okay? When some of you start to raise children, the reason why breast milk is better than formula is because of the natural fats that it has in it. Those fats are what helps the baby's brain grow and develop. Okay? Nuts and fruit are a good source of that. I know downstairs in Java City, along with the sandwiches and the cookies and the brownies and everything else, they sell cups of vegetables. They also will give you a side of ranch or whatever you like on it. Again, get some vegetables, get a nice topping in there. Here we have broccoli, carrots, and it looks like potato salad. Nice little healthy rounded out treat. And then if you're not really big into nuts, you got a nut allergy like I do, if you don't really care for the vegetables, a nice responsible yogurt is always great. A little bit of plain yogurt mixed in with some trail mix or some oats and grains, the honey oats, along with some vegetables or some fruit here. Again, it helps sustain you and get you to the next meal. Biggest one, we have to remember, it is not a meal. I have seen people go, I just want a little snack between my next meal. And they will literally go order a 6-pack a pound and eat an entire meal for 4 and then wonder why they're gaining weight like crazy. Second step to living a nice, healthy, balanced life is exercise. Now, exercise doesn't necessarily need to be going to the gym, throwing around weights. Doesn't need to be walking on the treadmill, staring at the same dot on the wall for 30 minutes. It's about doing more activity at a faster pace or a more aggressive pace than you normally do in your regular life. Okay? Exercise isn't just about looking great on the beach either. Talking about ADAA talks about that exercise helps you maintain mental health and reducing stress. You guys feel better after a walk? Gives you an opportunity without all the voices pulling you one direction or another to clear your head, think things through. Or sometimes, if you go for a jog like I like to do in the mornings, you're so focused on breathing and listening to music that you finally get that escape away from all the things that you've been dreaming about, thinking about, and that's been racking your brain and driving you nuts all day. Also, since we mentioned it, if you look better, sometimes you look in the mirror, you feel better about yourself. And if you feel better about who you are as a human being just by the way you look, by your appearance, not saying that you have to be a skinny supermodel, not saying you have to be a jacked up dude, but who doesn't feel better when they put those pants on that didn't fit them last summer? Suddenly they do fit them now. I know I do. I cut a notch in my belt the other day, and I was like, I shrunk it, didn't like expand it, so that way we know. But it felt good to be able to pull one more size down. All right? You look good, you feel good, you have a positive attitude. Anytime you walk into the class, anytime you walk into a business dealing, and you feel confident and you look confident, people are going to respond well to that. If you have a boss, family member, or anything like that who's just creating tension, it gives you an opportunity to burn off that negative energy. The one thing you have to do, though, is be careful when you exercise. Okay, and it's going to be different for each person. Some people are really good about it in the morning. It helps them fire them up for the day, gives them energy to go to the next thing. Some people use it at the end of the day. Work hard, all of a sudden they're tired from a workout. It allows them to fall asleep a little bit sooner. And one of the things that is fun, if you're one of those people who love to, you don't want to work out, you're by yourself, you don't know what to do, find some sort of community event. Yoga is one of the great things. It's low impact. It doesn't. It gives you a great sense of community. And the biggest thing about yoga, its focus is on breathing. Daily practice and complete relaxation and meditation helps you lay down some of those pressures. But if you don't want to do anything without friends, what you need to do, or you need accountability, check out your friends. Check out the place you're going to. A lot of companies out there, a lot of organizations out there in schools have co-ed opportunities. Talking about their local rec center has a basketball league, volleyball league, ice hockey, jazzercise, Zumba. All that stuff is available to you if you just look. And the first place to go sometimes is to a local chamber of commerce, wherever you go to. They've got a list of most of the businesses in town, and they can tell you what those businesses do. Then you can go ahead and go to your rec center, go to your local fitness instructor or whatever, and then get you lined up with one of these type of opportunities here. The third and final thing, which it seems like no student on campus has success with, is sleeping. I talked to someone down in Java City, they're like, I only get about 3 to 4 hours a night. Talked to other students, they're like, yeah, I got to stay up late to cram, and I got to get up early to cram. Realistically, if you are tired, how tough is it to focus on the question you're being asked on that test? Do you guys ever have to reread a question a few times because your brain just doesn't let you grasp it right then and there? You might have the answer in your head, but it'd be a little bit easier to pull it sooner if you had rest. Now, realistically, the groups that I looked at and got information from, they recommend 9 hours of sleep a night for students. I understand that's not going to happen. All right, but if you can shoot, if you're shooting for 9 and you only end up with 6 or 7, as I watch Nicole yawn right now, how many hours of sleep did you get last night?
8, 9.
9. Nice. See? Someone told me it was impossible. It's awesome. All right. So what you need to do is you need to try to find a place, find time to sleep that's appropriate. Okay? Schedule your days so you can get as much sleep as possible. A lot of students say, well, I'm a night owl. All right? Well, that's fine, but you create a pattern for yourself. Don't just go not just to get out of the mode, but to give yourself time to sleep, exercise, and prevent, the things that annoying your friends who aren't night owls. The other thing is, I don't know if you notice this, but when do a majority of instructors and staff get here to campus? About 7:30, 8 o'clock. What time do your parents go to work? 8. 8. In your chosen profession, the one that you're studying for, what time do you think they're going to expect you to be there? 8. 7:30. All right? Now, there are night shifts, there are third shifts, but realistically, majority of the working world, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Okay? You have to prepare yourself for, I laugh when I hear students say, well, I'm not really a morning person. Okay, what's your major? Education. That's awesome. I'm sure they have a night kindergarten class somewhere for you to teach, but good luck with that. Also, there's no way around it. You got to set your schedule to help. If there is no way around it, you are not a morning person, period. Well, then set your schedule to help you get more sleep. Fewer 8 a.m. courses and more evening courses, if that's where your high energy point is. After all, finishing the day at 3 p.m. is only a win if you are passing classes. If you are sleeping through all your classes and pulling F's and D's, well, it doesn't matter. And I mentioned here, highest energy. Highest energy is at night. I can't turn it off. Number 1, stop drinking coffee, popping energy drinks after 12 noon. If your energy levels are low at the same time every day, you need to plan your breaks around that time to get some fresh air, get out, and get that blood moving more. Exercise and proper diet, they're going to help balance you out a little bit, help snap you back into shape, and that means balancing out the energy levels throughout the day. If you are tired throughout the day, but you still got 8 to 9 hours of sleep, well, maybe you were in bed for that amount of time, but maybe, as we mentioned earlier, you're gaining a little bit of weight, you're starting to get some of that sleep apnea, which means you're having a hard time, or the foods you're eating are getting you to toss and turn throughout the night, and you're not getting a full, restful night's sleep. You need to check into some of that stuff and make sure everything's right. Also, use it as a learning moment, okay? Don't cram right before bed, but if you have some index cards, go ahead and flip through them. I know a lot of people out there, right before they go to bed, that's when they go ahead and they read that chapter in a book, or they read a few pages of the book. It helps them wind down. If you're go all the time, the blood's pumping, the heart's pumping, and it's hard to get your resting level down to a point where you can go ahead and fall asleep. Slowing down, going over flashcards, reading and scanning textbooks is a great opportunity to use that time as a study moment right before bed. Don't use your pencil, don't use your highlighter, don't use anything where you're making movements and you have to think. Just find a moment where you can breathe, relax, and call it good. If you guys have any other questions, there's some cited works. We can go ahead and send you the PowerPoint if you need. Otherwise, thank you guys for being a very wonderful and participating audience.